understanding Microsoft agents. And given the turnout here, you have a huge appetite for it. And we are happy to deliver. As you know, everything that we've been doing over the last year has really been focused on agents. Copilots and agents, agents and copilots, copilots or agents copilots. We'll figure it all out. But I'm really happy to introduce our two guests here. I know them both pretty well. Thomas, a little bit more recently. We've been working together a whole lot lately, particularly on some of the build stuff, some of the bail stuff. Thomas is a great director of product marketing. He's had a lot of great insights, a lot of great input. So it's been a pleasure working with him, and I'm really excited to introduce him. And then, of course, Kendra, who I remember originally from a demo that she did. I think it was talking about like all the vacations you wanted to go on and using Copilot to plan the vacations. And I think someone labeled you the, what was it? The Harley Quinn of tech. The Harley Quinn of tech. And it like stuck with me ever since. So now that is pretty much how I think of you all the time. And we finally got a chance to meet for the first time over at MVP Summit, and just as amazing in person as she is in every other medium. So it is absolutely my pleasure and my honor to introduce the two of them. So without further ado, Double Duo, take it away.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Charles. And yes, build is going to be very exciting. We are pulling all-nighters on it, I feel like, right now, but looking forward to that soon. Apologies also for being late. I'm a little bit sweaty. I ran across campus because I wanted to physically be with Kendra. We are sitting next to each other. That is so rare. We can high five. It's very fun. But we're going to take the next 55 minutes or so and walk through a little bit about our vision for agents in general. We'll talk about what is Copilot versus agents. And then Kendra's going to walk us through Copilot Studio, all about what it does. And we're going to see some really awesome demos. Going to be good. Let's get into it. Let me start at the highest altitude, which is that when we think about business productivity, modern work, business applications, whatever words Microsoft has used, they've broadly functioned in the same way for a really long time. We have had, whether it be mainframes all the way up to SaaS, backend systems that people interact with very frustratingly often in order to get work done. And as we think about the opportunity that AI is bringing, it's disrupting every single layer of this stack, whether it be the line of business systems, the cognitive layer of how we work with those systems, or the UI of how humans are interacting with it. And so we really believe this is a monumental era starting of how AI is going to change the way we've traditionally done business. We're already seeing that today inside of Microsoft, inside of the customers that are starting to use AI. And we're seeing that it's not just any one place, but it's actually across every single function inside of Microsoft. These are real stats from different implementations of Copilot and agents across Microsoft, whether it be a Copilot Studio agent that lives on Azure.com and helps customers to understand their options, or whether it be in our customer service organization to help resolve cases, to feed back into our knowledge loop of how we're improving our internal understanding of the issues that customers are running into. Every single function is going to be transformed as we start adding in these agentic capabilities into our world. We at Microsoft have a view that there are really two major things that you have to think about. The first is Copilot, and the second is agents. I won't spend very long on the first, but I want to give the overview of the picture, which is we believe that every employee will have a Copilot. It is your personal assistant. I like to think of it as your digital chief of staff. And there's a really important reason I call it that is because we believe you're going to have lots of agents, and you need a way to interact with them. I joke that in a world where there's lots of agents, imagine every single employee having a team of 100 people. I would die if I had 100 direct reports. And I'm going to need somebody to help me to do that. And that's where the interaction of people and Copilot and agents come together in order to work as one system. Agents are pretty exciting because in this system, they give capability to every single one of your interactions with Copilot. And so those two worlds come together in two concepts. You've heard Satya talk about the UI for AI. That is how we're making the interaction between human and Copilot really great. Just last month, we relaunched the UX for M365 Copilot app. We introduced new agents as well into that, new ways to interact with agents within Copilot. And we're going to continue to iterate there, whether it be enabling chaining of agents starting in Copilot, whether that be the agent store to enable Copilot to help you get access to the agents you need. But then the other half of this is having the right platform for AI makers to build the agents that serve their need. Now, we believe that there's going to be a lot of these agents. If you talk with IDC, they describe them as logical applications. They believe that in the next 3 years, by 2028, there will be over 1 billion of these logical applications or agents that will need to be created. That's a staggering number. That is like, let's do the math for a second. That's over 300 million a year starting today. And we're already behind. We're already 5 months into the year. So like, get working. We gotta build a lot of these. And as we said before, they're gonna touch every single function. But in order to build all of those agents, you're going to need a bunch of different tools. When we think about every single function, we are seeing 2 different worlds start to evolve of how these agents are getting created. Today, we think a lot about our existing business processes. And what we're seeing is that from an IT perspective, there's a lot of business processes that IT leaders don't know about. That we're seeing end users find localized problems where they are building their own solutions using low-code technologies, using Microsoft 365 Copilot in order to change their business process. I'll give an example that my own team built an agent for in this left category of user-led. I guarantee that Satya does not know that this is a problem in my day-to-day life, but every time we need to publish a piece of marketing content, a blog, a document, we have to review it with our legal team to make sure we're not making outlandish claims, to make sure we're not saying something that is false or wrong or incorrectly promising something we can't deliver. My team created an agent that knows all of the knowledge of our legal guidelines, and we give that agent every single piece of marketing content we create and ask it to do an initial review to tell us what's wrong with this content. It's not changing the world. It's not a super complicated agent, but it's something that's super important to my team because in the past, we would have to schedule a meeting with our legal team, wait 3 or 4 days to have that meeting, spend half an hour, an hour explaining the content, getting them to review, and then making changes. And while we still do that with every single piece of content, my legal partners think that I've become this like excellent copywriter because everything I write seems to not have any issues anymore when it used to have a lot. And it's because I'm cutting out a huge chunk of my business process by using AI to help it. We're also seeing way bigger agent opportunities where organizational leaders are recognizing entire business processes need to be reinvented. Things like sales processes of how you're creating a sales development agents in order to research customers and provide insights and information. That's not a one-off local process. That's actually something your entire organization is going to want to adopt. And so this top-down and bottoms-up approach of ideating what can be solved with agents is rapidly growing. And that's why we think there's going to be 1 billion of these over time, is because the opportunities are practically endless. At Microsoft, we also believe that there's going to be a wide range of these agents, whether they're built by Microsoft, like researcher and analyst that we announced last month, whether they're built by ISVs, or they're addressing this myriad of custom solutions that are going to be super specific to your organization. Agents are going to exist across this entire spectrum. And as we start to transition to how you build these agents, I would say that we believe with Microsoft's platform, whether it be Copilot Studio or Azure AI Foundry services, that there are a number of reasons that we think we have the best platform. The first, of course, is where I started this conversation, that the interaction between Copilot and agents is really important. It's how you scale your individual humans to access this world of agents. We know that some of the most valuable structured and unstructured data exists inside of your tenant. And so being able to use that data in a secure and safe way, not exporting the data into some other system you lose control over outside of your tenant boundary, is critical in order to inform and educate your agents to be able to do what you need them to do. If you've been following the news this morning, we announced that we are going to be supporting more open standards with our platforms. And Copilot Studio and Azure AI Foundry will be supporting Google's A2A standard as an open standard that we'll be investing in. And 2 months ago, we announced that we will be supporting Anthropic's created MCP, Model Context Protocol standard. We believe that especially as this world and ecosystem evolves, that we aren't in the place yet to decide what standard is better or not, but we believe our platform needs to support all of them. And so we're making the steps to do that. We'll be supporting how we work across agents and communicate between them. And I think the most important for the rest of this conversation is we believe that you should be able to build however you want, whether you want a low-code solution or a pro-code solution. There should be no dead ends when you're building within our ecosystem. And so whether you start in Copilot Studio and you want to use a model that you've created in Azure AI Foundry, or whether you're starting in Visual Studio and you want to call to the semantic index in order to return chunks from your work data in order to use inside of your agent, we're going to support this no dead ends approach across the tools you want to go use. But because we have Kendra here, let's talk about Copilot Studio. We think Copilot Studio is pretty important. If you know the history of this product, it came from the Power Platform, which is all about how you scale, how you enable makers, not just developers, to build the solutions that you need in order to improve your organization. And Copilot Studio does just that, enabling anyone to be able to go build an agent using conversational AI, using large language models, accessing the best set of tools that we've curated to make sure you have what you need to build what you're trying to build. And we're seeing that customers are adopting this. Last month, we announced that over 230,000 organizations, including 90% of the Fortune 500, are using Copilot Studio. In the last quarter alone, over 1 million agents were created through the platform. We're seeing in real time the hockey stick curve of organizations adopting agents and starting to build them into their business processes. And here's a bunch of those customers. I won't go through each of them, but I would just say that everyone's having their own journey here, whether it's B2C agents that are sitting on websites to help engage with customers, or whether it's internal agents. One of my favorite is one that a retailer in the UK, Pets at Home, has built, which is helping to do detection of returns and how to process a return. It is an autonomous agent and it waits for people to reach out to it, customers to reach out to it, and it cross-references with back-end system data about what the order was and if there's other issues with it. I think that there's so many possibilities that we're just seeing the spark of. And every single organization has its own problems, and we're only going to see more of these unique business processes start to get addressed.
Can I highlight two on here real quick? Do you mind? Since we're in the same room. And these are, it's like asking me to pick my favorite children, but I like to highlight these two for a couple of reasons. So the first one I want to highlight is Rabobank. Obviously, within the banking industry, there are a lot of very stringent regulations and compliance requirements. Security is massively important, right? And so I call out Rabobank because it's a great example of how Copilot Studio, both out of the box, already meets a number of these requirements and then gives you the governance and the control so that you can successfully pass even the most rigorous security and IT reviews. I also like to highlight Rabobank because it is a generative first agent. So meaning it leverages our generative answers off of their knowledge, which you'll see some demos of that. It also leverages our LLM or large language model driven orchestration. So you'll see an example of that as well, but they've gone all in, right? And the last reason why I like to highlight this one is because it's deployed in multiple languages and in multiple modalities. So they have it in English and Dutch, chat and telephony. And so this really speaks to something that's, critical and centered to our product principles is build it once, deploy it everywhere in any language, in whatever modality, at any endpoint you need, right? And then the last one I want to quickly highlight is Holland America. So Holland America is a subsidiary of Carnival Cruise Lines. And we worked with them to deploy, again, a generative first agent, right? Her name is Anna. I encourage you all, either while you're listening or after the fact, to go try her out. So you can see just the quality, the intelligence, the adaptability, the adaptive cards and the information she can present. But really the proof is in the pudding here. So they built and deployed this agent in, I believe, 6 months, externally facing, right on their website. And they set out a 3-year goal for their ROI from deploying this agent. They saw that return on investment in 3 months. 3 months. They saw an 18 times increase in successful booking for customers that started with Anna and ended with Anna, because not only does it highlight the right cruise for them, it lets them compare and then easily book that cruise, right, for their vacation. So these stories are just some remarkable ones, but absolutely, if you see customers up here, you want to learn more, let us know and we can share more.
Okay, one last slide for me, and then we get to the fun part with Kendra. So we've talked about Copilot, we've talked about agents, we've talked about how they interact with each other. But let's actually talk about what is an agent, especially in today's day where everybody says that there's an agent, and there's a lot of agent washing going on. We at Microsoft have, I think, a fairly clean definition, but you should tell us otherwise, which is that agents will be things that are using AI to automate or execute a business process. We believe that there's a spectrum of what agents can do. There will be simple agents that do what we think of as information retrieval. You give them a prompt and they respond. But we think you can add to that. You can start adding skills and actions to that agent to enable it to be able to do tasks for you. So you can ask the agent to go fill in this report, to go update this line of business system, to go book a cruise. And then the most advanced will start layering in autonomous capabilities, the ability to respond to triggers rather than human prompts, like an email is received or a file is being uploaded, or a line of system of record has a change in its information, and then go take some set of actions. They'll be generatively orchestrated, meaning that they're not following workflows, they're actually developing a workflow at runtime to help decide what it should do each step of the way in order to accomplish its generalized goal. And the reason we take this spectrum view of what is an agent is because we see that people start building an agent and add to it. They improve that agent over time as the use case and problem evolves. You can start with a knowledge retrieval, but it can grow and say, okay, now that I know about what your calendar looked like, maybe I want to go fill in your time card for you. And so over time, you'll see every single agent go through this spectrum and get more and more advanced as more features, more skills are added to it. I think of it kind of like a toolbox. You're giving it a hammer, then a wrench, then a screwdriver. And at the end of the day, it can assemble its own table. So with that, I'm going to transition to Kendra, who I think you're going to take a little bit of a technical view of what I just described.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for teeing me up with that great framing. I think before we start to get into demos, right, just like Thomas said, there are agents for everything, and there's a million different Copilots, and we also went through the rebrand of Copilot to agent, right? So I want to make sure we're all on the same foundational understanding of truly what is an agent, right? So like, what are the bones of an agent? And very simply, it's made up of these 6 things, right? Now, obviously, you can have more with some other fun features, right? But at its core, this is what makes an agent an agent. So at the very top, we have those instructions, right? So these are very powerful ways to essentially write the meta prompt or the core definition of what your agent should do, how it should behave, things it should highlight, things it shouldn't highlight, maybe workflow steps it should follow, right? These instructions are incredibly powerful and no code required. As you'll see in the demos, I am writing no code. Everything is in natural language. Underneath of these instructions, or how your agent then knows what pieces or aspects to trigger, you have your triggers, right? And these can be conversational triggers, these can be event-driven triggers, and these triggers tell the agent how to initiate, what to initiate next. And what it initiates can either be actions or knowledge, right? So I like to say agents do 2 things. They answer questions or they complete tasks on behalf of the user. Actions are the ability to complete those tasks. Action is that automation, those flows, connector actions, skills, MCPs, fill in the blank, right? For how your agent can take action to complete a task. And then you have knowledge. Knowledge is that data that enables your agent to then leverage that data, identify the right information, and generate that response for your user, or use that nugget of data information as a part of that task completion. And then you have the orchestrator, which very simply is the brain of the agent. This is the omniscient being, if you will, inside of your agent that is aware of all of the tools it has at its disposal and can then respond based on the user's question or query. And then underneath of it all, you have the foundational models that really drive how your agent is able to break down what the questions are, what the queries are, how it then does that information retrieval, how it generates the response, right? All of those things. And to break it down a little bit further, and this slide is both a great slide to take a picture of and also an overwhelming slide. I understand that. But I want to, again, before we go into demos, make it crystal clear of the types of agents you're building and then what features you have accordingly, right? So I'll start on the left with the declarative agents. These are the agents that you build inside of Copilot when you're using that lightweight, intuitive, embedded agent builder. These declarative agents are lightweight agents. You can think about them similar to GPTs. They're essentially scoped agents that have a specific purpose, set of instructions, grounded on knowledge. Coming very soon, can tap into actions from the Power Platform to have that task-based completion, right? But you also can tap into some of those plug-in actions. They have knowledge, so everything that's available through Graph connectors, through M365, your personal enterprise data, and coming soon, there's a lot of knowledge. As you'll see, we're going to cover the roadmap in the end, but there's a lot of other knowledge sources coming in there. And then the proprietary orchestration and foundational models for declarative agents in Copilot is Sydney. Now, over on the custom agent side, we have those instructions. You're building those prompts through natural language. Your triggers, this is where you have those conversational versus autonomous or event-driven triggers. And I have a great demo of this to show you here in a bit. You have your actions. This is where you get to tap into the over 1,400 plus pre-built connector actions, or connect to any backend API by simply wrapping it as a custom connector and enabling your agent to then connect to it for information retrieval or task completion, etc. Knowledge, you have that out-of-the-box graph knowledge, same capabilities that you have over in declarative agents, as well as you have additional websites, files, structured data through Dataverse, and then you can tap into those custom indexes that you maybe set up in Azure AI Foundry and leverage that over your data right inside of Copilot Studio. Then for your orchestrator, you have a rule-based orchestrator, a generative orchestrator, which we can get into as we go through these demos. And then at the foundational model level, we are always optimized for the latest model within our prompts and our capabilities, as well as the ability to, coming soon, replace the underlying model with an industry-specific model, fine-tuned model, or just one of the models available out of the box through Azure Foundry.
I like to think of this as like the scaffolding of an agent, or the human body of an agent. You can swap body parts out.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. And so the two demos, we're going to go through 3 demos, but really coming back to a slide Thomas shared earlier, Copilot Studio allows you to build agents that extend Copilot to really customize its capabilities and give it access to your workflows, your organization's data, etc. And so that's really where it's all about, making those information workers more productive with these agents. And then on the right, this is where we have those kind of enterprise transformational standalone agents that can be deployed both internally or externally. The first one we're going to go through today is the Copilot agents inside of Copilot, and show you a quick demo of that. So the value here in extending Copilot with these agents is you're able to surface that data that out of the box by design, Copilot doesn't have access to, right? So you are bringing in information that's really going to customize and tailor that agent to be specific to your needs. You can incorporate those business processes, again, customizing it so that it's the most valuable for you or your team or your organization. You can help to configure how these Copilot agents respond with your data, with your workflows, etc. And you can manage them all centrally within Copilot as well as the Microsoft Admin Center. And so the steps of doing this is incredibly simple. As you will see shortly, you launch the Copilot Studio powered embedded agent builder. You describe the agent you'd like to build, add some knowledge, add some plugin actions if that makes sense, publish it back to Copilot, share it if you'd like, and immediately start engaging with it. So let's flip over to a quick demo.
While you do that, I'll just say, I think the one other thing to think about is if we're going to build 1 billion of these agents, this is the tool that your end users are going to be able to use. I call it the toddler-proof version of Copilot Studio.
I love that.
Because, you know, you can't hurt yourself with it, but it also means that it has a bit less features because it's that safe version.
Yep, absolutely. And these can absolutely be used by your end users, right? But as an organization, if there is an agent that would be valuable for your organization to have here, very soon you're going to have the ability to kind of annotate these agents similar to like a blue check to say this is an official, you know, fill in the blank Contoso agent for my organization. You can pin these agents as an admin to the top, so they're always sticky, so they're always there, right? So it really is dramatically valuable for both that end user and the organization or team itself. Okay, so here I am inside of Copilot. I identify, create agent right there in the right-hand pane. And you'll see here, I could get started quickly with a template, but for today, I'm going to go ahead and build a procurement advisor agent for my procurement team to leverage. It's going to review POs. It's going to look at reimbursement, statements of work, etc. So I described the purpose of the agent that I'd like to build. And what this embedded agent builder is doing is it's pulling out the pertinent details from here and extrapolating to essentially build those instructions, build that meta prompt. Okay, procurement advisor, that looks great. And we go ahead and name the agent for you. As you make modifications on the left-hand side, the agent on the right updates as well. Okay, so refine the instructions. I want it to be clear, concise, avoid long answers, right? I want it to talk about specific information, but I want it to avoid providing information outside of procurement related steps. So when you're creating these agents, telling it what it does do is just as important as telling it what it doesn't do, right? You want to give those guardrails for those agents, and this gives you that control where you need it. Okay, so I'm going and adding the agent. It's pulling out those details. Okay, so now it's going to ask a little bit about the tone. How do I want this agent to interact with the end users, with my employees? I can, this is a great opportunity for you to maybe bring in any brand specific language, right? So if you're Disney, you absolutely want it to be friendly, and, you know, maybe you want to insert some additional words or phrases you'd like it to use. Okay, great. This, I can go ahead and add that data source. Let me just make sure. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a SharePoint. So all of this is right in line. Now, we understand that for maybe super users or also just based on personal preference, this conversational creation experience is not your jam, and you want to just quickly be able to update things, maybe update the icon, update the instructions, add your knowledge right there, maybe update your starter prompts. But for now, and let me make sure. It wouldn't be a live demo if something a little bit funky didn't happen. So let me re-add that SharePoint site. Okay, so now Contoso procurement is there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click create. And then I'm going to show you something very cool and very powerful to show you how that took me a minute to create. Probably it would have been less if I wasn't gabbing away.
And
but
if I jump back to that example I shared before of what my team created, that legal agent, we built it in this tool. Where the person on my team, Jack Robotham, he's not a coder. He is on LinkedIn. You should go follow him to get all the latest on Copilot Studio.
He's amazing.
But he built that agent using Agent Builder, connecting it to the SharePoint site that stored all of our governance materials for legal documentation, and it was done. And
it's so easy. So if I'm a procurement advisor, something that takes incredibly long is reviewing statements of work that are being submitted, and then having to manually compare, does it meet the approved rate cards and, statement of work parameters? Does it have all of the pieces that I need, right? So wouldn't it be great if I could upload a new statement of work and ask the procurement advisor to let me know, does this adhere to the guidelines put in place? So I went ahead, I asked the question, I uploaded my document, very easy. And now this agent is going to go ahead and comb through this new statement of work to see if it meets the general requirements. And you'll see here within seconds, it's able to give me an overview of that statement of work. It lets me know the pieces and parts inside of it. And it lets me know that it is in compliance with the statement of work guidelines. So if I want to review further, I can. If I just want to skim this for validity and then be like, great, approve, done, right? And you could add the ability for this agent to also complete the approval process. So right there, I created an agent in a minute. I uploaded a document, asked a simple question, and the value and time saved there could be upwards of 20 hours per statement of work in talking to some customers and looking at the time that it takes them. So let's quickly jump back over. Will you reshare the deck? Because
of course.
You're in the right place.
Of course. Give us a moment as we upload the deck here.
Love and hate technology all at the same time.
Zoom. There you go.
Perfect. And now I'm going to once again steal control from you. Okay, awesome. So we talked about the Copilot agents helping information workers. Now let's talk about custom agents. And these, again, just to reiterate, these standalone agents can be published internally to Copilot, to teams, but they can also be published externally as standalone agents to websites, social media channels, etc.
Everything you could do with that agent builder, you can still do in this new experience, but you get a lot more. Yep. So you think of more tools in the toolbox. We've got jackhammers now, and and backhoes, and
like forklifts.
Yeah.
and I guess I should preface this. There's a slide that I love to cover when I'm doing the framing, because probably one of the biggest questions I get is, well, where should I build? What's the right way to build? Am I missing out if I'm not using Azure or if I'm not in Copilot Studio? And the answer is it's not an either or. It's always an and. And as you look across horizontally between Copilot agents and Copilot, custom agents inside of Copilot Studio, and full integration with Azure AI Foundry, it's always scenario dependent. Sometimes you can start in one place, right, and never leave. But if you need all those bells and whistles, you need the backhoe, you need the, I'm really bad at this analogy.
We should have picked it.
We should have planned this one earlier. Yeah. But anyways, if you need all those tools, you could dip into Copilot Studio in that full maker space, and then again, extend into Azure if you need it. Okay, so really powerful things that you can do inside of Copilot Studio that I want to quickly call out. So inside of Copilot Studio, one of the great things that you can do is collaborate. So we absolutely built this tool to democratize this capability, empower subject matter experts and developers alike to build and deploy these solutions without code if they don't need it. But we quickly realized that it's not just one person building an agent. It's a team. It's a team sometimes building an agent for another department, the subject matter experts, and they need to collaborate. And it's also a team full of different technical proficiencies and aptitudes. And so you want to be able to collaborate in one space that feels like this tool was made for you, no matter where you sit on that technical spectrum. And so we give you the ability to leverage this and when work within those spaces and do things like commenting, for example, to let your engineer know, hey, I need you to build me this custom connector, and let them comment back when it's there, right? And many more scenarios. So that collaboration to be able to build and deploy is key. You can, again, design those personalized responses and interactions. You can boost your agents with that knowledge to respond to questions easily, handle those complex queries, have very, very extensive logic if you need that to those conversations. And then you can monitor, govern, and continuously improve all within the Power Platform Admin Center and by leveraging the analytics that come out of the box. So very powerful tool, lots of capabilities. But again, doing this is incredibly simple. So you create your agent, describe what you would like it to do, give it its knowledge, publish it to different channels, and then monitor and improve. And so I am going to take you through, we're gonna get to autonomous, but let me switch over. I'm gonna take you through a couple of quick demos. I just got to share the right window. Okay, so I'm gonna do two quick demos. The first one, I'm going to start at the very basic level, just so you can see how easy it is to create and how powerful it is. And then I'm going to take you into a more realistic enterprise scenario in an agent that I've already built. And I'm going to do this all very quickly because we always run out of time. So I'm going to start with a single sentence. So create me an agent to help Microsoft customers find the products and services that are right for them and answer questions. Okay, single sentence. I could have made it much more robust. You saw with the procurement example, I included a lot more details, but again, I want to show you the power. So from that single sentence, we're able to extrapolate a lot of additional details, right? Things to avoid discussing topics unrelated to Microsoft products and services. And so you're able to see exactly what we're pulling out to build those instructions. And again, I could go through this process of, continuing to create. For time purposes, since you just saw this, I'm going to go ahead and create. Let's get into it. And then I'll show you how easy it is to add knowledge and how easy it is to add an action.
Now, what it's doing here, because it's spinning, this is a SaaS service. So we're spinning up in the back end all of the infrastructure that you need that you could in Azure go set up yourself, but as a SaaS offering, we're taking care of it. And it's done.
Yep. And it's all backed by Dataverse storage, right? Which comes with that governance, that security that you need as well. Okay, so here I am inside of my agent. You'll see that one single sentence gave me some great instructions, a description, all of that flowed through. And I want to go ahead and add some knowledge before I do. Okay, generative's on. Perfect. So adding knowledge, like I said, is very easy. You have a couple of different knowledge types. You can do websites, SharePoint. You can connect through graph connectors to some third-party sources. You can add structured data through Dataverse or just upload files directly. For time purposes and simplicity, I'm just going to go ahead and use the Microsoft website as my data source, click add, and immediately I'm now able to start chatting with this agent leveraging that data source. So I'm going to say, what is the best surface for my 8-year-old gamer? I like this question because it shows a couple of things. I didn't say Surface Laptop. I didn't say Surface Book. It could have thought I meant a counter surface or a tabletop surface, but it understood the context of the agent that it's a Microsoft product advisor, and it understands that Microsoft offers surfaces, right? And then you'll see here, it included a ton of great information that's relevant to what an 8-year-old gamer would need, something like a high battery life, because they never charge their electronics. I mean, shoot, I don't even charge my electronics, but that's another conversation. It gives you features that help you. So M365 Family and Game Pass Ultimate, because we know they have short attention spans and they want a number of different games, right? And so it took into account the context of the question that I gave it and gave me a very detailed breakdown along with some great citations where I could go and look this information. I could ask a follow-up question. I could say, why is this, or I could just say, is this better than the new laptop from HP? So now it's leveraging, again, the same knowledge I gave it to look at the specs between this Surface and HP with the requirements I gave it for an 8-year-old gamer, and it's going to come back with an analysis. So it's helping to surface information and helping to compare and contrast options for me so that I can get to my buying decision quicker. I can understand which one I want to leverage. And again, you'll see I get a very robust breakdown of the Surface Go versus the HP laptop, and I'm able to make my decision. But again, answering questions is only part of it, right? So let's go back to the overview. And actually, let's go into actions. And I'm going to show you. We got a little bug. I'm going to refresh. I love live demos. They're so fun. I'm going to quickly refresh because I want to show you one more thing before we get into. Okay, so here I am. I want to create my first action. Now, this action is not an action that most of you are going to add for your organization, but it's simple. And sometimes I think leveraging a simple concept allows you to really grasp the power and the scalability and think about how you can apply it to your organization. So I'm going to add the weather action. I am easily able to select it. Now, you can access in the same place. I should have went a little bit slower. All of the 1400 pre-built connectors. You could access your custom connectors. You could access agent flows, right? This is where you find and access all of these and configure them for your organization. Now, the first thing I want to point out is your ability to control authentication. So if you add an action for time card approver, you might not want everyone to have that capability to approve time cards, right? So you can add user authentication so only people that are authenticated for that task can get access to this automation capability. I'm going to go ahead and set it to Copilot author authentication since I want to build and test. And you'll see another great feature. We let you know anytime you're making your agent less secure, less safe. And so it lets me know that, hey, you know, authentication isn't there. This might make your agent less safe. The other thing I want to highlight is your ability to have kind of full control, if you want it, over the required inputs. So for something like location, I want the agent to just dynamically fill it with the best option, either from the context of the conversation or by generating the question to ask me for it. However, with certain things, maybe I want to hard code that input. I don't want the agent to ask for it. I don't want the agent to pull something from the conversation. And in this instance with units, I do want to hard code that. I don't want it to ask, do you want imperial or metric? I'm just going to go ahead and set it to imperial so the end user can have a better experience. And I'll go ahead and add an action. You can set up things like a confirmation step. You can set up things like, does this show an adaptive card, right? So there's a ton more controls in your control for how you configure them. So I'm going to say, what is the weather in Boulder, Colorado? And will I need an umbrella in Seattle? So this question shows you the ability to ask multiple things in a single query and allow the planner and the orchestrator to handle both of them. So the first thing it's going to do is pull the weather action to find out in Boulder, Colorado, and then it's going to pull the action for Seattle. And the thing I want to show you again is just how intelligent the orchestrator is and how it changes the way it answers based on the question I asked. So I just asked for the weather in Boulder, so it gave me a typical forecast, right? in Seattle, I asked if I need an umbrella. So it talks about the fact that I might need an umbrella and highlights that light rain, in the beginning of the answer, because it was related to will I need an umbrella. So again, simple concepts, but shows you the power, shows you how dynamic and intelligent the orchestrator is.
Before you get into that autonomous, I think it's worth also calling out, this is the same agent that you gave at the knowledge sources of the Microsoft website.
This is the exact same agent.
And what I love about the activity map on the left is it's showing that it intelligently knew to not try and look for the answer on Microsoft.com.
Yep.
It knew to go grab the connector, the action of checking the weather through that API.
And I didn't tell it that.
And you didn't have to go build a big activity map yourself, a flow yourself, to tell it if this type of question is asked, go use this tool.
Yep.
And that's the power of this generative orchestration that I think you're about to show in the next demo.
In autonomous? Yeah. So I think for time purposes, because I want to get to autonomous, I do want to switch over back to the slide deck. If you want to see a more robust custom agent solution and demo, there's tons online. Please take a look.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay, so autonomous capabilities. In 10 minutes, we're going to go through autonomous and give you a snapshot into what's coming next. So autonomous, we started to talk about this a little bit in the beginning, right? So everything you just saw me demo was chat initiated. The user had to ask for the agent to support it. Now, the brilliant thing about autonomous capabilities is that it's always running in the background, waiting for the event that triggers the specific workflow. Now, there's still a human in the loop because you, as the maker, tell it exactly what steps to do when a particular event occurs, but no longer do you, as the user, have to initiate it, right? It can be always working on behalf of you or your team or your organization. And it monitors and improves its behavior as it goes through various runs and either hits certain cliff points, right, or learns from you as the maker, giving it additional instructions. So let's jump into, I have a recorded demo here. So this agent shows the power not only of the autonomous trigger capability, but also the new deep reasoning, which allows it to further analyze what should happen and further analyze the data that it has to be more robust in either its responses or be more accurate and successful in its next steps. And one real quick customer story that I love to tell, because I just think it both speaks to the impact it can have, but it's also just a really good feel-good story about how this technology is improving human lives and helping to change the world and the way we're able to support one another. There's an organization that leverages autonomous triggers to review their case notes. So they have a program that supports families in need. And what they do is they have house visits, and these caseworkers go and they meet with the family. They ask them a ton of questions. They take a lot of notes. And then previously, they would have to come in and enter all those notes. Sometimes they were in very different formats. Sometimes they were more verbose, less verbose, right? And then there was a supervisor that had to review all of these different home visits and case study notes and then analyze, okay, do they meet the qualifications? Do they not? What they've done is they've initiated a process through autonomous trigger where the case notes are uploaded for the agent, and then the agent formats them into a similar structure. And then it also analyzes them based on the requirements of the program for support. And then it actually sends a mail to the supervisor to let them know this family it does in fact qualify, or this family does not qualify, and here's why. Please, review further, right? So this has helped them save, I believe it was 2 weeks of work per case visit. I could be getting my numbers wrong, but it was a massive time savings, and that will allow them to potentially get more families qualified, right? So it has a positive impact on people being able to leverage the goodness of this program, and also positive impact on those employees and their time. Okay, last but not least, let's move into the product roadmap. So this is not everything by any stretch of the imagination. Thomas can attest, we have more news than we know what to do with. So definitely stay tuned to Build, watch some of the sessions online, watch some of the blogs that come out. But to highlight some top features that customers have been asking for. So the first is additional knowledge types. So not only with these additional knowledge types, but they also want quality of existing knowledge types and more first-party capabilities, things like Workday, things like ability to connect to Fabric or Confluence, right? And so a number of new knowledge types, both first-party and third-party, are coming in as knowledge that you can leverage. Additionally, all along that pipeline, are we taking questions? Let's hold our question to the end, Edgar, and then we'll put it in the chat, and then we'll do our best to answer all questions if we have time.
I think chat's actually been turned off for this. So
oh shoot!
Okay,
Edgar,
answering questions.
We're gonna try to get back to you. I'm gonna go fast so we can save time. You have the ability to control all along that process of identifying the relevant chunks of data in your knowledge, merging them, summarizing them, and then generating a response, right? So how you maybe merge disparate data, maybe removing certain data, maybe any sort of behavioral modifications on top of the summary that comes back, controlling the verbosity, etc. So you'll have that additional control. You'll also have additional debugging tools that will help you understand why your knowledge is maybe not performing the way you would expect. We're also excited to introduce computer use agent capabilities in Copilot Studio, which enable your agents to interact with your website or your desktop app to complete some sort of automated task. This is a massive change and improvement to what we will be able to do now with agents. Autonomous agent templates, we want to make it easier for you to quickly set up these autonomous triggers, empowering you to get the value faster. In product consumption visualization, so this is something everyone has been asking for. You'll have a number of ways that you can see how your agent will or is spinning that meter. You'll be able to analyze trends. You'll be able to drill in and see which features inside of your agent are driving that consumption. You will also have at Makerspace or Maker Time the ability to test a query and then see what that would cost you in messages. And then you're also going to have a tool to help you forecast what a particular agent's consumption would look like for a month. Based on the features that you're using and the type of agent solution. So lots coming there. Analytics improvements. We are continuing to add to the analytics out of the box and what we show you. So things like additional details around your knowledge, surfacing the thumbs up, thumbs down metric, which we know people want to see, surfacing your agent ROI through a deep integration with Azure, Viva Insights, not Azure, and then surfacing your autonomous triggers there, what triggers are being leveraged, how successful are they, what actions are they using, and whatnot. So there's a ton of improvements coming there. You're able to easily publish to SharePoint. So we're excited to announce this in public preview. So you can publish a custom agent directly to SharePoint and find it in the same list of agents within your SharePoint. So it can do more than just index over your documents. It can do task completion and much, much more. And then last but not least, we're doing a ton of UX improvements. And one of them is making our conversational creation more streamlined, more intuitive, and giving you the ability to do more inside of that conversational creation if you'd like. And I believe with 1 minute to spare. Look at that. Okay.
Oh yes, but we're not done yet. We're not done yet. There are a few more slides.
Oh yes, sorry. Good call out. There are a few more slides.
Yes. Okay. These are all mine. Thank you so much, guys. We really, really appreciate it. Before you go, you have lots of questions, I'm sure, about, hey, this is a great introductory session to agents, but I want to know what's next. So a couple of things I recommend. One, we have a couple of communities where you can get answers to more of your questions. You can connect to other users, and you can connect with people like Kendra and other members of product leadership for all the latest product announcements. So I suggest going to community.powerplatform.com, which is where you have Copilot Studio, or community.dynamics.com, where we tend to have agent-oriented content as it relates to Dynamics as well. Next slide. And we are launching at Build an agent creator community. This is going to be something that focuses on all things agents. So if you want to know, okay, is my agent information on M365? Is it Fabric? Is it Copilot Studio? Like whatever it is, we want to have one place to go where you can connect with all of the other agent ambassadors. So this is an example of something that we are planning to launch. And this way you can connect and work with other people who have been doing really, really great things with agents, learn from them, get access to their GitHub repository for things, get access to some of their recipes for how to build certain things. It's going to be a really great way to up-level your knowledge on communities. And finally, we thank you for your time very, very much. So we encourage any feedback that you might have for how we did and what you might want to see in the future by checking out this QR code. So pull out your camera, and we'd love to hear from you and any feedback you might have. So once again, thank you so much, guys. This was really, really great. And the next thing that we plan to launch is the next season of Demystifying, where we are going to get questions that you might have, since we know you didn't get a chance to really ask any questions because of the format for this. But you have lots of questions, and we will have an opportunity to start answering them over the next several weeks in a Demystifying series. So stay tuned. And hopefully we'll be seeing Thomas and Kendra again as they answer questions from the community. Don't want to volunteer you guys, but I'm volunteering you guys. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a
wonderful build in 2 weeks. We look forward to seeing all of you virtually or in person. We can't wait.